Gear Tasting Radio is brought to you by Imminent Threat Solutions. ITS provides knowledge that empowers individuals with indispensable skill sets to explore the world and prevail against all threats. Right now, as a special thank you for all podcast listeners, we're offering 10% off in the ITS store. Simply use the code GTR to save 10% at store.itstactical.com. Welcome to Gear Tasting Radio, where we offer an in-depth look into the usage and philosophy behind the equipment in our lives. I am joined, as always, by Rob Henderson.
Hello.
And I am Bryan Black. Today, I am going to go over my one-year anniversary of my new way of eating, which is today.
This exact day?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Which is weird.
That's
so, timed it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kelly and I started July 31st of last year.
That's right.
And we've been on this new way of eating for a year, which is crazy to think about. So I just wanted to kind of go through, I guess, how that's affected us throughout the year. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to reflect on it a little bit, too, because it doesn't feel out of the ordinary now. I mean, I've been doing it so long that it just doesn't even register to me as different anymore. It's just become the way. So it all started because I started listening to the Robb Wolf book, Wired to Eat, as an audiobook. And this was probably a month or so before we actually started the diet. Well, I don't even want to use that word diet. Like, I hate that because
the change.
I keep saying that, but it's not what I mean. It really is just a complete change in the way that we're eating completely. So that's kind of what he goes through in the book, too, is not only the fact that you're going to just be able to eat a different way, that it, I like to say it changed my relationship to food. Like, that's the biggest thing that I think that I got out of it, because I do look at food a different way now. I don't have the cravings that I used to, so I don't snack at all hours of the night like I used to when I'm sitting around hanging out after I get home from work. Because I would get home, and it was always somewhat healthy food. And that's the thing that we found out, is that it's not that we were eating bad. It's that we were eating foods that were causing us to have cravings that would cause us to eat more food, and some of the food that we were eating would also cause us to eat more food. It's just it's kind of a vicious circle, and until you break the circle, you can't understand what's going on.
Yep.
And sugar is the main culprit of that. So that was the first thing that took probably the biggest hit, or was the biggest hit to us, was actually removing sugar from
cranky times.
Yeah, from our diet. And I'm not saying that we completely do not eat sugar 100%. I mean, we're probably like 99%. So every once in a while when we're out to dinner, like, hey, you want to split a dessert? And we'll just do that for the heck of it. And I mean, that's probably realistically only happened 3 or 4 times since in the last year.
Like once a quarter?
Yeah. I mean, we don't even time it that way, but that's probably a good assumption.
Just when it comes up.
That we did that. But, we've completely kicked that. So even when we do eat something like that, or we split something, we can feel the difference. It's like an immediate impact, not only on our digestive system, but just in terms of just the way it makes you feel. Like, you can feel the sugar, and obviously taste it too, because everything on this diet now that we're eating this way tastes sweeter. Yeah. So now that when you eliminate sugar, you really taste how sweet normal things are.
Well, you notice hidden sugar.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times if there's a tomato sauce, it'll taste like, I don't know, sweet, but not almost like caramelized.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to get kind of back to the basic here, the premise behind this Wired to Eat program is a way to remove inflammation from your body. And lots of foods cause inflammation. You really have to determine which foods cause inflammation personally. So that's kind of what the book does, is that it breaks down this way of eating into a measurable metric where you can actually track what is causing, what's causing you to feel a different way after you eat, which in turn means that it's causing inflammation, because it's affecting your body a different way.
Gives you a way to test certain things. Yeah,
so the premise is you eliminate everything in the beginning. So when we first started, it was no dairy, no grain, no sugar, of course, But those were probably the big three things that we eliminated. And it doesn't sound like a lot to eliminate, but it's really tough to cut those three things out.
Everything has dairy and grain.
Yeah. So, yeah, dairy, grain, and...
like sugars.
Yeah, and also legumes. So, like, beans were off the table. And
I'd never even heard of a legume.
Yeah.
But then it was like, oh, that's what they are.
Yeah. I really even hate saying that word. It sounds really weird to say.
No beans.
Yeah. But there's other things that go along with that, too. Like quinoa is also in that group of what not to eat, too. So there was a large portion of things that we just had to completely give up. It was really weird. That was the biggest thing, was just how the change affected us. And that was probably the biggest hurdle to get over, aside from sugar. Sugar was by far the biggest hurdle to get over and drop, because that was probably 2 weeks that it took to finally start to feel differently. Like, I didn't go through huge mood swings, but I definitely could feel the difference of not having sugar. So it was, I don't know, causing me to behave differently. It was just strange, the power that sugar has over your body. But, I mean, so I started out, I think at my heaviest within that month of kind of like starting my weight measurements and stuff, I got up to like 194 or so, and my weight would fluctuate quite a bit. Like it would go from like 186 to sometimes 190, and then you know, I'd have some weekend that I ate like crazy and didn't work out or something, and I'd be up to like 192, 193, and sometimes like a 194. I was like, oh my god, I don't even want to look. But you know, based on that, what I'm at now after this program, after a year, is like 168.
That's awesome.
So I'm between 167 and 168. Sometimes it'll get up into the 169s, and occasionally I'll see 170. So I'm still within like a 2-3 pound fluctuation, but I mean, as long as I'm under 170, I'm great.
Yeah.
Like that's a perfect weight for me. Just in terms of how I feel, my energy level, which also increased after I started eating this way.
So are you tracking what you eat?
Yeah,
like calorie wise. So that's I think it kind of like
so that's the thing. In the beginning, you are kind of tracking that because you are eating smaller portions, and that's what it really hits on too. Is that you have to control the portions too, because if you're not doing that, you can just kind of get out of control with eating. And obviously, it's going to be better if it's not grain or dairy or sugar, but you're still putting a lot of food into your body, so that's definitely an important part. So. But after a while, what happened is that we started to, it's like our bodies started to naturally tell us when we're full faster. So those indicators that are suppressed by things like sugar and grain and dairy allows your body to use them better, and it just naturally restricts what you feel like eating. So it's really been amazing, the transformation that's happened. And that's why it's really just a new way of eating. Like I have no desire now to go back to the other way. Like I never want to go in a fast food place again in my life.
Yeah.
I will avoid it like the plague. It's just nothing I ever want to do again. So, I mean, even I used to eat sushi all the time too. And I would get rolls, which are just loaded with sugar, and
all the mayo,
all the rice and everything.
Sweet sauces. And
it really, when I started to analyze it after being on this new way of eating for a while, I started to realize what it was that drew me to those things and why I like sushi so much. Well, it had a shitload of sugar, of course, So, that's a big thing you start to realize is, why are you drawn? You start asking yourself those questions like, I kind of miss this, but why am I drawn to it?
Why am I craving this right now?
Yeah. And that's what's really good about it, is that it kind of cuts down on the cravings and allows you to kind of get up to a 50,000 foot level and like look at what you've been putting in your body. So it kind of allows you to do that, which is neat. But yeah, I mean, the weight is the biggest indicator of all that, and just overall energy level. I mean, so that's like 25 pounds, 26 pounds that I'm down, which is just insane. I never even thought that I had the capability to lose that much or needed to lose that much. Like I was actually happy at like 185. Like that's what I thought my ideal weight should be. And then I got down to 170. I was like, oh wow,
this is better.
This feels amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
are you sleeping better?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So the other thing too is that I used to snore every once in a while, and Kelly would tell me, "Oh, I couldn't sleep last night because you were snoring." I was like, "I don't snore." That's I would refute it like crazy, but I would. I knew she wasn't making it up, but I would never catch myself doing it. But now I don't. So
That's good.
it just completely eliminated any of that I was doing. So occasionally, like I'll have a cold or something, and I'll wind up doing that.
Sleeping
again
in an odd angle.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I think everybody kind of does that if they're in the wrong position. I think that's been the biggest thing that has probably happened to me in years. Just being able to not only start a program like that, but stick to it. And obviously it helped that Kelly was doing it too. And that's a huge factor in all this too. If you're trying to start a program like this and you're in a relationship and you can't get your significant other on board with it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be much tougher, because I don't think I'm not going to say I wouldn't have been able to do it, but it would have been really, really difficult if Kelly would not have been on board, because there would have been that kind of constant, like, why are you doing that? Why, that's ridiculous. And, the internal crap that everybody gives each other in a relationship.
Well, and even just not having the food in the house, like if one person's doing it and one person's not, then you'll have a different range. And so it's, one thing with this is like, it's very difficult to do quickly.
Yeah.
You have to prepare, a lot of cooking. There's lots of raw stuff you can eat, but there's a lot of cooking involved. And so, if you don't have it cooked and prepped and ready to go, it's a lot easier to stray.
Well, and that's an interesting point you bring up too, because that's one of the challenges we faced early on with this, is that, we were making these really elaborate meals every night for dinner because we thought we had to, because we were still craving that, I don't know,
like normalcy almost, I would think.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it was.
I want to eat regular food.
Well, it wasn't just regular food. It was, I don't know. I guess we would cook meals all the time that were more fulfilling. Even before this, diet happened. So okay, there we go again. The new way of eating happened. But we would cook things like that, and we would make more elaborate meals. Like we subscribed to that Fine Cooking magazine, so we would always make recipes out of there. So we were already kind of doing that at night, so we kind of naturally fell into that as well, with the modified paleo, which is kind of what that is, the way of eating. But what would happen is we weren't used to cooking like that. These are things we'd never done before, so it would take like 2 hours to make dinner. And it was getting ridiculous, and that just added to the stress level of starting something like that. So, if that's one piece of advice I could give, is like, keep it simple. A lot of the recipes that are in Wired to Eat, I will say that I don't like them. Yeah. There are a bunch that are in that book that I just did not care for. There's actually a book that Kelly got very early on called Against All Grain, by Danielle something.
Walker?
Yes, I think it is Walker. Yeah. It's a fantastic recipe book that really follows that way of eating as well. She uses certain things in recipes, like I think there's some stuff that might have like maple syrup in it, or
honey.
So honey. So we'll try to avoid that. And those are things we keep in the house. We still keep maple syrup and honey for recipes, and something like Kelly made some paleo biscuits a while back or something like that, which, were made with cassava flour, which is non-grain.
What is a cassava?
I had no idea I still don't know what a cassava is, but we have that at the house.
Like almond milk.
Yeah. I got my little label maker out, and I got these new bin or jars kind of they're made by that OXO company, that have this little pop-up thing on the top. They're amazing.
For dispensing?
Yeah. Well, no, for storing stuff. So like we now have a ton of dried fruit and nuts and things like that we store now. Pistachios are like my vice now. I eat the crap out of shelled pistachios like nobody's business. I go to Sam's and get the huge jumbo pack, and
pre-shelled, so you don't have to work at all.
That's like my kryptonite. So anyway, I always liked them, but now I really like them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I kind of put some of those containers in there, and we have these larger containers for flour, and when it's flour, you really can't tell the difference between two types of flour, so you have to label it. It's not just an OCD thing like
you gotta know which kind you're putting in.
Yeah, so typing out that label, I was like, I still don't know what a cassava is, but it's on there.
Love it.
Yeah, but it's been very interesting and eye-opening to go through something like this, and we have no intention of ever stopping, which is pretty cool. I've gotten to the point where I can go out to just about any restaurant and eat healthy. In a matter of fact, I was just hanging out with a buddy a couple weeks ago who has kind of experimented with things like this too. And, he was like, I had no idea that you could actually eat healthy at these kind of places. And I was like, well, it's just all about, asking for different things. And I'm not super picky when it comes to ordering either. And that's what I've tried to do is balance that out.
Because I like a lot of different food.
I don't want to be the customer that's like, can you take this off and do this and change this? It's like, if I have a modification, it's like one ask. It's like, hey, can I get this instead of this? Or all vegetables instead of vegetables and rice or something like that. So...
And there's lots of choices you can make, and like you said, you're not going to fast food. But if somebody did, you could still probably at most places get like a grilled chicken breast and a salad.
Yep.
Like you don't have to get the meal.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he talks about in the book that I thought was really cool was the palate fatigue, and he uses that man versus food example where he's trying to eat this like 5 gallons of ice cream or something like that, and he can't get through it. But he asks for a side of French fries, and he eats the French fries, and then he finishes the ice cream. And it's because it like tricked his body into thinking that he wasn't full because he switched to something completely different palate-wise. And when you start to look at like fast food meals, it's like a burger with sweet sauce on it, and then some fries, so you can kind of like trade off and continue. So it's kind of interesting to think about.
Well, and that's kind of I started off years ago with. God, what was that book? It was called, it was written by the guy from Men's Health.
Is it The Abs Diet?
Yes, thank you. I was drawing a blank. Yes, Abs Diet. So I started off reading something like that back in the day. This was probably 7 or 8 years ago or something like that. And I had tried to follow that program, but I could just never get on board with it.
Well, that's rough because that's the one where he's like, eat oatmeal in the morning and like a chicken breast at lunch.
And now looking back on those recipes, that wasn't cutting out the things that are causing cravings.
Right.
And that's one of the big things that was eye-opening is that, eating this way really does cut out cravings. And so, kind of back to the plan, because Kelly and I have deviated severely from what Robb Wolf wanted us to do, which was eventually start integrating those foods back in. But we haven't. We just we felt so good from not eating those things.
If it ain't broke.
Yeah, but however, like I said, we will make something with like honey or maple syrup in a recipe once in a while, and I'll often, maybe once a week, if not every 2 weeks, I'll get a cappuccino somewhere, so that does have milk in it.
Sure.
And I can make one of those at home every once in a while, too. So I typically do have whole milk in the fridge, but I never drink it. It's just always to make...
To put in something?
Yeah, to put the foam in a cappuccino or something. And plus, I like having it if people come over and I can make them a drink or something like that. But
don't want to weird people out that come over.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not a savage. Like, I have milk in the fridge, okay?
Do you guys have any, like, bread or anything? Nope. Sorry.
Yeah. We use a lot of almond milk, though. So, like, when we make eggs in the morning, we used to use milk to, to beat that into the eggs, and now we use almond milk. So
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know where almond milk comes from, but
I don't know. I use it for cold brew. I think I think it makes it taste like chocolatey versus like half and half, which just makes it taste, I don't know, like coffee.
Well, how's that going for you? Because I know you had started that.
So and this is one person in the house not being on it is definitely a thing.
Yep.
And it's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. It is much more difficult. It's also difficult when you don't share the same tastes as someone.
Yep.
And so when you go out to eat, you'll have to go. I find myself eating a lot of steak and veggies when we're out. Like whatever they have for the steak.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting for me to kind of follow the Wired to Eat, but then also start to think about calorie counting and things like that. And so, like, the weight loss I've seen has been great, but I found myself having to focus more in on, like, okay, total up what you actually ate and then look at it, because at the end of the day, it's a different way of eating, but it's also calories in, calories out.
Yes.
And if you curb the cravings, that's fine. But one of the things that I read on a forum or Reddit or somewhere, but like a pound of bacon is still a pound of bacon. Whether or not it has carbs in it, if you eat that over the course of a day, you still ingested that many calories.
I agree.
So I've had really good luck cutting out cravings for, like you said, sugar and things like that. And I've started trying to curtail the calories into more of like literally getting a food scale out and weighing the stuff. And it really surprises a lot of people, myself included, of like, oh, I was counting this ground beef as like 8 ounces, and then you weigh it out and it's like 12 or 16, and you're like, oh, okay, that's, what you think is a portion isn't a portion. So it's been good. I've found a lot more luck I always tell vegetarian people this too. Don't try to find substitutes for regular food. Like I'm done with the spiralized zucchini.
Yeah.
Like I'll just eat zucchini. It's normal. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
you don't have to fake a noodle, because honestly, like all it makes me do is like miss noodles. And so I just eat sliced zucchini cooked up in the pan. But
Which is still amazing.
right, yeah, it tastes good. And then, like you said, I think it's the 50,000 foot view of like, why am I spending so much time trying to emulate rice when in reality it's like, it's okay to just eat like ground beef for breakfast. You know, like if you have just seasoned meat and then grab a banana or like eat an apple or something, it's okay to have like mix and match.
Yeah.
I eat hard boiled eggs.
Yeah,
Like I
do too.
feel like such a weirdo just sitting over the sink eating hard boiled egg.
Yeah, I've ate a lot more of those. Like I have a cool paleo egg salad recipe that I like a lot. It uses like a, what do you call it? Like, I'm not even sure what the kind of mayo is, but it doesn't have any kind of dairy in it. And it's also low calorie, and it actually tastes decent. It's not mayonnaise, but I wasn't a huge mayonnaise fan anyway, so I don't really even notice the difference.
Well, and the other thing that I've done, and he doesn't really talk about exercise in the book, is like, I've been going to the gym following more of like a lifting program, but recently I've just started throwing in days of cardio, which seem to help a lot more. Because I think a lot of times when, someone's lifting weights, especially if you're not super experienced with it, I think you're doing a lot that's not really doing much in the way of like, especially burning calories. So you may feel like you're getting stronger, but like you're not burning as much as if you would just get on the treadmill for 45 minutes.
So I would actually dispute that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think there's not enough attention that's paid to weightlifting as a way to burn calories, because you really do burn a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think that cardio is the be all end all of,
Sure.
of anything. So, a lot of people do jump, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but
No.
a lot of people do just jump on the treadmill because they think, oh, I'm super healthy because I run so much per day. And like, yeah, but look at what your body is using for fuel during something like that too. And that's the other way to look at it as well. But I don't know. I'm more of an advocate of, weight loss through, like if we're talking about a fitness or exercise routine, I would lean more on things like that than I would on cardio now, whereas, 5-10 years ago, even like there was no way I would think that.
Yeah,
I mean,
be
I was
like run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, strength training with body weight is probably the best thing imaginable. I feel that anyway, which it's been amazing how many pull-ups I can do now without 26 pounds hanging on me.
Bro, you know how many pull-ups I can do?
I'm serious. It's amazing.
That's
like
good.
I can just knock out pull-ups like I used to before I, went in the military. And, I used to be able to do 20, and I thought 20 pull-ups was amazing, before I went, and it still is. But now I can do that again.
Yeah.
And that's just baffling to me, because I haven't really, it's not like I've been training for that again. I mean, I've always kind of done pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups and dips and things like that. But like, I don't feel like I've gotten strong enough to the point like to be able to do that. It was just the weight falling off that allowed me to do more. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I say that I've lost that over a year, but really, I would say that within the first 3 months of eating that way, I was down probably at least 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I think it just continued to kind of taper off as the months went by. I think by 6 months, I was probably down to 175, somewhere in there, and then it just kind of kept falling from there. And I would probably say by 8 months, I was at the weight I am now. So that's what's cool, too, is that I've been holding that.
Yeah, you're like maintaining.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a good thing to track, because it will be gradual.
Well, I don't wear a Fitbit anymore, but I still use the app to plug in my weight on. So I'll go in there every,
Which app do you use?
The Fitbit app.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's got a weight loss tracker on it.
Cool.
So you put in the target weight, and then you just add in your weight on a daily basis or something, and
That's awesome.
And it gives you a graph of what your weight's been doing. And you can go look up historical data from it, and that's how I knew the whole like 194 thing. Like I would weigh myself.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say, but every once in a while, just to kind of keep tracking it. I mean, even though I knew I was not where I wanted to be, it was kind of like a mental forced exercise just to kind of
I'm gonna put it down.
keep me held to that
Sure.
that goal. But yeah, I think I mean, obviously there's a whole lot of willpower involved in taking on something like this, but I mean, I'm living proof the benefits outweigh tremendously the things you have to give up, or honestly, I don't miss them.
I was going to say,
I don't miss them.
You just changed. I don't want to say this giving up.
Yeah.
Like it's more like a fuel type thing versus, and you can still have good food.
No, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, I do think of food more like fuel now than I did before.
And that's been a tough mental block for me, is basically just changing over like, well, I don't really feel like that. It's like, well, that's what you cooked, so just eat it. It's just food. Yeah. Like, just, you can make something else another day.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'll get on I do all those projects that I've talked about on other podcasts where, I'm like building an arcade machine or something. I'll get on a Saturday kick and I'll just start working when I wake up. I'll completely miss breakfast. I'll go right through lunch, which is not healthy at all. I'm not advocating this.
Don't do that.
I'm just saying it. It'd be like 2 o'clock and I'll start to get hungry. I'm like, oh, crap, I didn't even eat breakfast. Yeah. It dawns on me because I'm so engrossed in whatever I'm doing that I just don't even think about it, which I would have never done, a year ago.
That's also something that's helped me, is getting out and doing stuff on the weekends, because like you said, if you're preoccupied with something, you're not thinking about eating. But when you're sitting around the house watching Netflix all day, you're just more likely to be like, I'm going to grab those. And even if it's healthy, like you said, I'm going to grab those pistachios or any kind of nut almonds. And then before you know it, it's like a half a bag of almonds down. Like, oh man, I just go do something.
And I think that was the biggest challenge. If I had to take a challenge other than like, the sugar or giving up certain things, the mental hurdle that I had to get over was not coming home and snacking before dinner. Like, that was a huge thing for me because I've been doing that for years.
Like grazing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'd be making dinner and I'd be, grazing on what the ingredients are that I'm making it with, or I'm pulling something out of the cabinet to munch on because I'm so hungry that I can't wait for dinner to finish, that type of thing. So that's pretty much completely stopped, which is great. But yeah, that was a big hurdle for me personally to get over. And everybody's going to have their own hurdles like that, but
everybody's got like that one vice that they do.
Yeah. Some people have more than one
vice. Everybody has those like 7 vices that they do.
Well, and I have been asked too, like, what's your drinking like? Because I still drink.
Yeah.
I haven't completely given up alcohol, and I don't plan to. I mean, I definitely don't drink as often as I used to, and I'm not a everyday drinker by any means. But I do, enjoy the occasional glass of bourbon or something like that. Or I try to not drink beer though.
Yeah.
And I make my own beer, so that's kind of tough. Especially because
I have
worst
hobby to have. Well, I have
friends that make beer too, so it's tough to kind of give that up completely. But it's very rare that I make beer, and you got to drink beer to make beer. That's kind of an unwritten law. So, like, usually I'll drink beer when I'm making beer.
Yeah.
Which has been like one time since I started this diet. So, I'm obviously making way less beer.
Yeah.
And when people come over, I'll offer it to them more because I'm trying to get rid of it.
Please,
it's like,
drink
this has been sitting in my keg. Seriously, drink it.
Drink it.
But yeah, I hardly drink beer anymore. It's more, I try to focus more on liquor if I'm drinking, but that's just been my preference lately because I've been really into bourbon, so it's kind of been easy to do. But I will also open a bottle of wine every once in a while at home, or if we're out to eat, but it's nowhere near all the time. And it's not like we were really doing that before. Like, we've never really been heavy drinkers, so it's just
slight changes.
We did cut it out in the first. I don't think we drank for 6 months probably in the beginning. So we completely cut it out in the beginning.
That first drink.
Yeah, it was nice. So after completely cutting it out, we kind of slowly introduced it again.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to get to the point where I'm completely cutting out everything because I still want to enjoy myself. And
you can't make it too strict.
Yeah, and obviously if you look at the contents of bourbon, you've got corn and you've got wheat and things like that. So it's really breaking all those things when you're drinking it.
But if you can gain weight drinking nothing but bourbon, I mean, it's usually that comes after drinking all the bourbon.
Right. And it's really only a small 1 ounce pour of bourbon every once in a while. So, I mean, I don't look at that as a huge deal. So, I do have the things that I deviate from. That's kind of what I'm trying to illustrate. Is it's not a
splurge occasion.
Yeah, it's not 100% on the wagon all the time. So, but I mean, it's not like that causes my weight to spike or something like that. So I still been maintaining my weight, which is just amazing to me. So yeah, it's been a cool journey, and I'm looking forward to year 2. You know,
I was gonna say a year from now, do an update.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So, and I do think that this has been, you know, a complete life changing event, more so than anything. And you know, I guess since like starting my business or getting married, or like I look at it like that,
like a milestone.
Yeah, it really is. It is a milestone in my life. And you know, I have other people that I know that have done stuff like that, like Bryan Greene, who we've talked to. He runs that Bryan's Backpacking blog. He's a good friend of mine. And, you know, he said he started eating paleo, I want to say he said 3 years ago now, or 6 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's down like 60 pounds, and he's kept it off the whole time. And just,
that's great.
mean, it's out there. It's doable. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's no sweat and it was perfect. And I was very nice to be around the whole time. But yeah, I would definitely give it a shot again. Wired to Eat is the book. Give it a listen on audiobook, and also what is that? Against All Grain by
we'll link those in the episode intel. Danielle Walker.
So check out the episode intel for more information. Thanks for listening to Gear Tasting Radio. Remember, if you have any questions, please use the # Gear Tasting on any social media network, and we will get them answered. We did do that question episode.
We've done questions twice now in a row. It's getting crazy here.
We're getting there. And as always, when you're on iTunes, if you're checking out our podcast there, we would love a review and rating. Hopefully you will give us 5 stars. It helps us get our podcast into more eyes. Apple takes more highly ranked podcasts and puts them in front of people more often so than the other way. So very much appreciate your rating. The reviews have been hilarious. Please keep them up. We've been loving reading those, so thank you very much for those. And also, we have our Crew Leader membership, which we will link in the episode intel, which is our membership program that allows us to give you back something in return for your support. Thanks for listening.